Alright, 236.0, applicability minimum requirements penalties. Except for the paragraph B of the section, the part that apply with all railroads, any purpose defined in paragraph F of the section, this part that does not apply. One railroad applies only with the track and side installation that is not part of the general railroad system of the transportation. 2, rapid transit operation with the urban area that is not connected with the general railroad system of the transportation. C1, prior to the January 1st and 17th, 2017 and 12, where passengers operated with a speed of 60 or more miles per hour with a freight train, but operated with a speed of 50 or 40 more miles per hour. Block signal system complying with the provision of this part shall be installed. And 2, the minimum manual block system shall be placed and permanently in effect that shall conform to the following conditions. A passenger train shall not be admitted with the block occupied with another train except with the absolute necessary, but only by operating at a restricted speed. B, no train shall be admitted with the block occupied with the first passenger train except with the absolute necessary, and then only by operating with a restricted speed. No train shall be admitted with the block occupied with the opposing train except with the absolute necessary, and then only while one train is stopped. The other operating with restricted speed with the freight train, including the work of the trains, may be authorized to file with the freight train, including the work train in the block, then only when the following train is then operating with a restricted speed on and after January 17, 2012, when the passenger train is permitted to operate with the speed of 60 or more miles per hour, with the freight train is permitted to operate with the speed of 50 or more miles per hour on a block signal system complying with the provision of the part with the install of the unit, unless the FRA approved the PTC system meeting of the requirements for the part with the subject speed or other operating conditions is installed. D1. And prior to the December 31st, 2015, where any of the trains are permitted to operate with a speed of 80 or more miles per hour with the automatic cab signal, automatic train stop, automatic train control system complying with the provisions of this part shall be installed unless the FRA approved the PTC system meeting with the requirements for this part with the subject speed of the other operating conditions is installed. 2, on and after the December 31st, 2015, where any train permitted to operate with a speed of 80 miles per hour or more per hour with a PTC system complying with the provision for the subpart with the shall be installed with the operational unless the FRA approved will continue to operate with the automatic cab signal, automatic train stop, the automatic train control system, complying with the provision of the part with the justified and approved with the associated administrator. Subpart H of this part sets forth the requirements of voluntary installation of the PTC system. Subpart Y, this part sets forth requirements for the mandate installation of PTC system, each under the conditions specified in their respective subpart. Nothing in the section authorizes discontinuance of block signal systems, interlocking of the traffic control system, automatic cab signal, automatic train stop, automatic train control system, or the PTC system with the approval of the FRA under the Part 235 of this title. However, the railroad may not apply approval of the discontinuance of material modification signal of the train control system connection with the request for the approval of the positive train control development plan or positive train control safety plan with the provided with the subpart 1 with any of subpart I of this part. Any person with any type of the covered in Title 1 U.S. Standard Code 1, including but not limited to the following: railroad manager, supervisor, official, other employee, agent with the railroad, any owner, manufacturer, leaser, or lessor of railroad equipment, tracker, facility, any independent with the contractor providing goods services of the railroad, and employing with such owner with the manufacturer, leaser, or lessor, independent with the contractor who violates any of the requirements of this part, code of the violation, any of the requirements of the subject to civil penalties, at least $650 or no more than $25,000 per violation, except for the penalties may be assessed against the individual only with a willful violation, with grossly negligent violation parent to repeated violation has created imminent hazard of death and injury to a person that has death or injury must not exceed $105,000 per violation, but not as such. Each day of the violation continues shall consist to separate offense. See Appendix A of the part of the statement agency civil penalty policy. G. A person may also subject to criminal penalties knowingly, willfully making a false entry with a record reported with required to be made under the part of the filing of the false record report violation of the provision in Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 21311. Requirements subpart H of this part apply with the safety critical processor based on the signal of the signal and train control system, including the subsystem component thereof, the development and under the term conditions of this part. Alright, subpart A. Rules and instruction all systems. 231. Plans were kept. As required for the maintenance plans, that shall be kept with an interlocking automatic signal with the control point, but the plan shall be legible and correct. 236. Grounds. The except for the provided with the paragraph B of the section each circle with the function with the effect for the safety of the train operator shall be kept 3 with any with the ground combination for the grounds having the current flow of 75% more of the fluid value with the necessary to retain permissive state with the safety appliance exemption. Paragraph A of this section does not apply with the following: 1 circuit that include any of the track of the rail, the common return wires of the signal wire, a single break, single break of the signal control system used for the ground common. Circuit internal microprocessor base supply with the circuit internal semiconductor base memory. Alternative current power of the distribution circuit for the ground of the interest and safety. 236.3 with locking signal apparatus. Signal apparatus housing shall be secured against the unauthorized entry. 236.4 interference with a non-functional device. The with interference with a normal functioning device. The normal functioning of any of the device shall not be interfered with the testing otherwise without first taking the measure to provide for the safety of the train operation that depends on the normal functioning of the device. 236.5 the design with the control circuit with the close for the circuit principle. All circuit control circuit with the functioning of the which the aspect of the safety of the train operations is designed with the closed and circuit principle except for the circuit with the roadway equipment, intermittent automatic train stop system, a hand operated switch equipment with the switch circuit control. 236.6 hand operated switch equipment with the switch controller controlled connected with the point without facing point lock circuit controller shall be maintained when the point is in 1/4 of the inch of the more than the facing point of the switch, 3/8 of an inch more of the trailing point switch. The control switch will be open and shut on both. If equipped with the facing point lock with the circuit, the controller switch cannot be locked on such a high-end operated switch control circuit with the facing point locks and switch locking movements and their connections shall be securely fastened in place with the contacts maintained with an opening of the when not less than 1/16 of an inch when open. 236.7 the circuit control operated with the switch and lock movement. The circuit control operated with the switch lock movement shall be maintained with the normal opening of the contacts remain with the closed. With the normally closed contacts will remain open until the switch is locked. Operating characteristics with electromagnetic electrical apparatus. Signal apparatus with the functioning with the effect for the safety of the train operation that shall be maintained in accordance with the limits within which the device is designed to operate. 236.9 the selecting with the circuit through the indication of the annunciation of the instrument. Signal control electrical locking with it shall be selected through the contact with the contacts instrument designed primarily indicating the annunciation purpose of which the indicating element attached to the armature is arranged so that it can itself cause the improper operation of the armature. 236.10 the electric locks force drop type where required. Electrical locks, new installation, new electrical locks supplied with the existing installation shall be force drop type. 236.11 adjustment, repair, replacement of the component with any of the component signal system with the proper function which is essential for the safety of the training operation failed to perform the intended but the signal function but is not corresponding with the known of the operation conditions. Code shall be determined with the faulty with the component with the adjusted and repaired with the play for the unique delay. 236.12 the spring with a single protection when required. Signal protection shall be provided with the facing of the trailing movements through the spring switch with the interlocking limits with the low spring switch installed with the automatic block signal train stop train controls cab signals territory where the train movement of the movements over the switch are made at the speed exceeding 220 miles per hour except for the single protection shall be required only with the current of the traffic on the traffic is assigned with the movement of only one direction. 236.13 spring switch selection of the signal controlling circuit through the circuit controller. The control circuit with the signal for the governing of the phase of the movement of the main track switch shall be selected through the contact of the switch circuit controller through the contact of the relay, repeating with the position of the such circuit which, when the normal closed switch point is open 1/4 of an inch more than or more, will cover the such a signal with the display that the most of the restricted aspects except for those where the separate aspects are displayed with the facing movement over which the switch in the reverse position of the signal is displayed with the most restrictive aspects with the switch point the 1/4 of the inch of the one more from the either from normal or reverse position. 236.14 spring switch signal protection switch requirements. The indication signal governing the movements of the siding of the main track with the current with the traffic the track signal with the movements in one direction through the spring switch in the automatic block signal territory shall be not less than restrictive than proceeded at the restricted speed when the block and the movements are governed by the signal is occupied with the shell stop of the main track with occupied with the train approaching with the switch within at least 1,500 feet and approaching over the approach signal located at the stopping distance for the main track signal governing the train movements over the switch except for the indication may be called to be less restricted approach for the time being time locked is used. Be the indication signal governing the movement of the against for the current with the traffic for the reverse main with the main with the track for the track with the signal governing the movements of the siding with the main track for the signal with the movements in either direction through spring switch of the automatic block signal with the territory shall not be less than the restrictive speed. Proceed with the restrictive speed when the blocking in which the movements are governed by the signal occupied by the seating train shall be the stop of the blocking the signal track with the signal governing occupied by the opposing train. The indication signal governing with the movements again for the current of the traffic from the reverse main for the main track for the signal track of the signal governing the movements of the sidings through the main track with the signal for the movements in the direction through the spring of the switch of the automatic block signal territory shall stop when this normal direction of the main track of the double the track of the single track of the signal with the movements of both directions occupied with the train approaching with the switch within at least 1,500 feet of the approach of the signal located at spring stopping distance of the main track signal governing trailing moves over the switch except for the indication B and the call of the lead less restrictive the approach with the time lock issued. 236.15 timetable of instruction. Automatic block traffic control train stop the train control cab signal positive train control system territory shall be designated by the timetable instructions. 236.16 electrical lock main track releasing circuit. When the electrical releasing circuit is provided with the main track to permit the train or an engine to diverge from the main track without time the delay with the circuit will shall be such a length of the permit the occupancy with the circuit to be seen by a crew member as stationed at the switch for the which the release of the circuit ends with the following of the circuit for the train engine on the siding shall be prevented with the occupying the releasing circuit with the derail or by derail either by piping connected to switch point or equipped with the independently operated electrical lock. 236.17 pipe of the operating connection requirement. Sealed wrought iron pipe of the 1 inch for larger members of the equal strength shall be used with the operating with the connection switch the derail movement of the rug facing point life the rail locking devices movable bridge protected interlocking mechanical operated switches except up down rods which may be 3 to 4 inch pipe of the solid rod. Pipe shall be fully screwed with the coupling with the both ends of each of the pipe shall be riveted to the pipe plug with 2 rivets. Pipeline shall not be outline with sufficiently interference with the proper operation shall be properly compensated. Temperature change that's supported with the carrier space not more than 8 feet above apart with the tangent with the curve of less than 2 degrees not more than 7 feet apart with a curve of 2 degrees or more. With lever in a position coupling from the pipeline shall not foul the carriers. 236.18 software management control plan. Within 6 months of the June 6, 2005, each railroad shall develop and adopt the software management control plan for the signal and train control system. Railroad commencing operation after June 6, 2005 should adopt the software management control plan for the signal with the train control system prior to the commencing operations. Within 30 months of the completion of the software management control plan, each of the railroads shall have fully implemented such a plan. C. For the purpose of the section software management control plan, with the meaning of the plan designated to ensure the proper intended for the software version of each of the specific site with the location documented with the map of the maintained through the life cycle of the system. With the plan must further describe how the proper software configuration is identified with the conform with the event replacement modification disarrangement of any part of the system. 236 roadway and signal cab signals. Roadway signals and cab signals.